Hello, everybody. This is Ron talking to you from the Erasmus Academy in Brooklyn, New York. And today I have on the line Christopher, who has taken one of our courses this summer. Christopher, do you want to say hello to everybody?
Hi, everybody.
Great. Well, tell us, Christopher, what language did you take and how did you find out about the Erasmus Academy?
I took a Sanskrit course. I think it was intermediate Sanskrit, 2-month course. We took from May to July in 2016 is the year we're speaking.
Well,
And I found out,
it was actually
yeah,
a beginning course, was it? Beginning course in Sanskrit.
okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. I don't know where I saw the intermediate. Yeah, it's beginning Sanskrit. I've never studied. I definitely.
Sorry. Go ahead. My apologies. Go ahead.
Uh, yeah, just to be clear. And I found out about Erasmus Academy through my academic dean at Union Theological Seminary, actually. I'd have some issues trying to find a proper venue to study Sanskrit, which is my language component for my PhD program here at Union Theological Seminary.
Okay.
It wasn't working out at Columbia University, so my dean, Mary Boyes, who's our academic dean at Union, found out about Erasmus Academy, sent me a link at Christmas time and said, here's the course you can take. We'll pay for your tuition. And also the timing of it worked out very well. It was from May to June, as I mentioned, which was right after the spring academic semester ends. So it was also a good time to do an immersive study of Sanskrit without having other kind of academic responsibilities. I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I don't know how I would have been able to do a class at Columbia with everything I was trying to do my first year of my PhD program. So it worked out very nicely.
So how many hours did you have to put in per week on average?
The classes were about 6 hours total a week. We met twice for 3 hours, Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. And then I would say I put in I would probably say most days of the week I would spend probably anywhere from 1 to 2.5 hours doing exercises that we were given by our teacher and doing basically just doing the homework, which is looking into chapters, understanding concepts, and doing the exercises that we were given. So
okay.
I would say outside of the class, I would probably say another 15 to 20 hours with the class work. I would say about 25 hours a week, sometimes up to 30, which I think was what we were told would be like in the beginning. About 25 hours.
Great. Can you, for people who haven't taken a course in real time, can you describe a typical scenario in a classroom setting and what you see on the screen and what the interaction is like a little bit?
Yeah, so class I took, we would meet online, again, like I said, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:15 to 9:15 p.m. Our teacher would send us a link to this program, GoToMeeting, and we click on the link and she would have we would communicate through that. Basically through an online course, we would be able to talk and listen to each other, one other student in the class, either through the computer audio or through the phone call as part of the program as well. And we'd be able to see each other through webcams and whatnot too. So our teacher, she would basically just either speak to us, or also she would have basically a lot of handouts and sheets and kind of guide sheets that she would show through the GoToMeeting program so that we could kind of study the chapters together and look at that we were doing together. So everything was on the screen, and always the program worked very, very smoothly. Yeah. So it was very good. My first time taking an online course, so it was, I didn't know what to expect per se, but it worked out very nicely.
Yeah. Did she also email you course materials too?
Yeah, she would. Yeah, I have a whole big giant folder of Sanskrit materials that she would send. Different handouts for different chapters and different readings, different grammar concepts, and she would send that out pretty much in relation to every class and what we were doing. And also she was great about sending extra stuff too, and we would sometimes kind of get little tangents about different Sanskrit texts and stuff too, and she would always kind of send stuff or some music as well to kind of hear the pronunciation being sung as well. So it was a great, like really happy to have all these materials too coming out of this class to kind of reinforce what I've learned.
Well, so it wasn't just purely the language you were learning. You're also learning about the culture and some of
Yeah,
the concepts behind the literary texts themselves and that sort of thing.
yeah. And I mean, myself, Michael, and Berg, I think all had some familiarity with Indian culture, so we would sometimes spend some time talking about different elements of how Sanskrit related to that culture, different things that we've heard before. And that was neat too. That was always, for myself especially, wanting to use Sanskrit as a way to deepen my own understanding in the culture as well.
Hmm.
That was helpful to kind of connect it rather than it just being, I mean, learning the language itself was very important, but it's always, I mean, it's always how you're trying to interpret, I think, the cultural aspects of it too.
Hmm.
So that was always really nice.
Great. You mentioned to me earlier that you had a little were a little bit worried about how difficult the course would be, and then you felt relieved about that after the first session or two. Do you want to say
Yeah.
something about that?
Well, my experience studying language is pretty minimal. I had taken an Italian class in high school and raised Italian. I don't really remember too much out of a few greetings. From that, I took Latin during my undergrad at the University of Michigan for actually 4 semesters of Latin. And it was a tough experience. It was very hard.
Hmm.
Latin just, I mean, it'd be interesting maybe to go back and take Latin again, having taken a Sanskrit course, but really in a sense, and I didn't really retain much of the Latin. It's nothing that I use in my current scholarship.
Hmm.
And it's just something that kind of didn't really keep. And it's a muscle. The way I kind of describe it is that it's a muscle in my brain that I never really had used before properly. So I was very nervous the first day just because I was nervous more about my own capabilities. I mean, am I going to be able to do this? How
Hmm.
overwhelming is the work going to be?
Yeah.
Is it going to be kind of real struggle to comprehend Sanskrit, which is not, you know, most of my classmates and colleagues. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not trying to denigrate other languages, but like, you know, but also I see my classmates are kind of struggling with their Hebrew and with their Greek, and it never looked like very much fun. So I was just kind of intimidated. And after the first couple of classes, I realized, one, that the workload outside of the class was going to be manageable,
Hmm.
um, and that we were going to go at a pace that was gentle is the word I often have been describing, because it was just Berg, our teacher, was very clear and just gave us a lot of room to really to learn and we had struggles understanding certain concepts, and there's plenty of space. It was nice having just one other person in the class. I know I would imagine that Erasmus Academy is wanting to have more people in the class, but there's also something to be said on have too many people in the class.
Yeah.
So there's something for, you know, I think it's general pedagogy
Yeah. In fact, this is our.
philosophy not have,
Let's see.
you know, 40 people in the
So
class.
right now, your voice is dropping out a little bit. Let's see if we can improve the. I'm just going to stop the recording for a second. Yeah, well, Christopher, you mentioned that it was pretty nice and unusual to have such a small class of 2 students and the professor, and we're hoping that the enrollment will increase in subsequent years, especially since we have such a nice, a very good teacher from what you say in Berg, the instructor. And also, I don't think you mentioned this, but she was teaching from Japan, which was quite
Yeah.
interesting, with a different time zone. So it's 7:30 her time in the morning when it's 6:30 or around that p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, but Christopher, can you say just a few things? We're going to close this interview quickly or soon, but a couple more questions. Did you end up making the progress that you hoped to in the class?
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't know what, if you would asked me this question maybe at the beginning of the course in terms of progress, I probably wouldn't have been able to answer that question very clearly, but I think after this course, I'm able to look at the Devanagari script of Sanskrit. I'm able to kind of look at, if I'm to look, for example, at a sacred text like the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of
Mm-hmm.
the most, people talk about Sanskrit is probably the most well-known. I'm at the point now where I can look at the Sanskrit and actually be able to read it
Mm-hmm.
and understand the grammar.
Great.
Maybe not more, kind of it's a beginner's course, so I don't know how advanced the grammar gets in the Gita, but there's one of the reasons I wanted to take this course, and maybe this is where the progress question comes in, is being able to actually look at sacred text in the Hindu tradition, to be able to read them from the Sanskrit,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to begin to get to the point where I can do my own translations and understandings of the Sanskrit. Sanskrit's a very kind of malleable language in that sense, that
Mm-hmm.
it provides a lot of ground for interpretation, and I think that's important for someone who wants to do scholarship within Hindu traditions or Eastern traditions to have anything to do with Sanskrit, to be able to at least have a level of reading it and being able to understand it from a basic grammar level. And you can go on or pretty deeply into it, but I feel like I've gotten to the point after this class where I have a really strong foundation to go
Great.
forward.
Great. Well, from what you're saying, it sounds like you would recommend this course to others, and so that'll be our last wrap it up with this. So,
Yeah,
how would you feel about that, about recommending it?
I would definitely recommend this course. I'm looking for people to recommend the course to, actually. And again, I think part of that is, I think, folks like myself at a place like Union Seminary, which is trying my advisors and professors that I have are trying to create a pretty robust interreligious program, and we have folks like myself who want to learn
Mm-hmm.
Sanskrit, want to learn Arabic. And knowing the challenges I had to go through just to find a course to study Sanskrit, so I'm hoping, even if new students come in this year and perhaps somebody wants to study Sanskrit, or even people that I know in different Hindu circles
Mm-hmm.
who also want to study Sanskrit, I'll definitely recommend this course, because I just found, people who want to get the foundational work,
Mm-hmm.
foundational understanding, it was a great experience, and it really worked out very well. And it was a good, like, robust course on Sanskrit, and I think it's unless and even for people who are not necessarily in the kind of academic world, like I said, people I know in different Hindu circles who may just want to study Sanskrit, they're not in a school per se, this is a perfect thing, rather than having to try to take a class somewhere at a major university and all the kind of problems that come along with that and how expensive it is.
Mm-hmm.
This was I think the course was just a really affordable, practical option for anybody wanting to study Sanskrit.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out of your schedule today, Christopher. Really appreciate your comments, and I'm sure it will be helpful to others listening in. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.